Chapter 19. The Nesting Grounds. It was still the early morning, just before the sun began to rise. We reburied the bag in the sand at the root of the palm tree. Tolo looked at the sun. The heat was already unbearable, with sweat starting to run down his brow as he said, "We have a while to go before reaching the nesting grounds, and with no water until we reach it. You will need to save your energy and breath by not talking, but when needed." Tolo led us toward the sun that rested on two large dunes off in the distance. We were not accustomed to this much heat. The heat smothered every breath we breathed. Though we must have walked for hours, it seemed we grew no closer to the dunes than when we had first started off. Januka kept his eyes on the sky, looking for any signs of dragons, or even perhaps Spot, a scout. Lily looked ahead toward the dunes. She pointed above the dunes and asked, "Killen, what are those birds doing? They've been circling those dunes for a while now." Killen looked upward. "Those are not birds, Lily. Those are dragons. They must be blinded by the sun's light, or they would have captured us by now." Januka spoke up. "I've been watching them. We seem to be safe for now, until the sun falls." Januka picked up his pace to catch up to Tolo. Tolo turned when he heard Januka's pace change. As soon as Januka reached Tolo, he was thrown on the ground by Tolo's Goliath of an arm. Tolo, filled with an anger I had never seen before, with his eyes looking directly into Januka's. "Listen, Weevil, close to what I say. These sands are of magical properties, controlled by the Sandmaster, for where we walk now is the sands of time. If you disrespect time by being in too much of a hurry, he will be offended, and the longer you walk with that pace, the more you age, until you too will be only a grain in the sands of time." I looked at Januka, expecting a fight, but instead his eyes showed no signs of anger. Instead, they shone an understanding unlike any other. Tolo walked ahead of us at his same pace, while I helped get Januka on his feet. Januka suggested, "My princess, your feet will surely burn on the hot sand. Would you rather ride upon my back?" I was, in the least, puzzled at hearing that. I had been wearing shoes the whole time, so with hesitation I replied, "Januka, I have had shoes on this whole time. My feet won't get burned." Januka cocked his head to the side, and with a sluggish start pointed his talons at my shoes. "Those are not your feet. No, didn't you see me take the shoes off before?" Januka looked serious. My eyes and mind are trained for a distance, not for my close surroundings. I held back my laugh so as not to embarrass him. I took off my shoe and pulled off my sock. "See, I have 5 toes like any other human." I was trying to get my shoe back on, when I looked up to see a dark cloud coming our way. The sun was starting to go down, just touching the tops of the sand dunes. Tolo bowed downward and said, "Behold the master of the sands of time. Pay your respects with a bow down, and do not get up till he has left us." The black cloud of sand hit Tolo, making him disappear from our view. I quickly grabbed Lily's hand and fell to the ground, hitting the sand with my face. I felt Januka's large body wrap around me and Lily. I took my other hand and grabbed his neck, putting my face in his fur. Soon as I did this, the cloud smacked into us, moving us back a good foot. I could feel the sand hitting my arm like thousands of nails driving into my skin. Just as the pain was starting to be numb to my arm, it was over. I felt Januka get up, pulling Lily and I up with him. He asked, "Would one of you kindly wipe my eyes? I can't seem to get the sand out." We quickly brushed over his eyes with our clothes, dying to relieve the pain. After a while he shook his head and said, "That will have to do." Lily looked around, seeing Killen snorting and coughing out the words, "I'll never be able to groom out this sand." We looked for Tolo. He wasn't around. Where could he have gone? Perhaps he had been buried under the sand. Januka began to smell around on the ground, searching for Tolo's scent. We then noticed the dunes were just a few yards away, and there was Tolo looking over them. We all walked up to him, but he didn't talk. He just pointed down. From what we had thought to be a dune, we were standing at the edge of a cliff. Below was more of those creatures unsaddling their dragons of war and feeding the dragons eggs. This didn't make sense to me. Why would a dragon eat its own kind? Tolo spoke up. "These are not the dragons we are to trust. These have been trained since they've hatched to desecrate and kill all that is good, so do not feel pity as with the unicorns. turning his eyes toward Lily, Killen, speaking as if in loud thought, "But what can we do? They could take flight at any time and see us. There is no cover for us to hide in." Tolo turned his head toward Killen. "Not hardly. Dragons cannot fly at night. They must absorb the moon's light to stay alive. The only way they can do this is sleep, except one Moonshade. He's the evil leader these dragons follow, the first to be hatched under Lady Lanu's reign. He was given a rare moonstone to keep him with an endless supply of life. He is not to be trusted. He only obeys the word of Lady Lanu. Not even her finest creatures can ride him." We watched as the dragons were chained to a post deep in the ground. Holes had been cut into their wings for the chains to fit through. It also made it impossible to try to fly to get away. Killen explained that a dragon is like iron. It cannot be cut into easily, except for their wings. A dragon's wings are as much like the wings of a bat, but strong enough to bear their weight, tough in every way, except when cut into by a form of magic. If a dragon would attempt an escape, the sharp metal claws at the end of the chains would dig deep, tattering the wing, making the dragon fly only short distances. It would then be recaptured and perhaps eaten.